Okay, calibrated my system today downstairs, just a real simple setup. I made a post here on the Facebook group about it, and yeah, I just wanted to go through the results and like kind of some of the issues that I had. So this is like my old setup that I used to use, and I just brought it downstairs because I no longer need it. I have the Denon A1H, and this is the x6500 in here. It's a good receiver. It just doesn't have the power that a lot of the new receivers now have. So, but I just wanted to see how Acoustica would calibrate this system. So I initially started using the spatial audio calibration toolkit, but it did give me issues because the sub level on that disc is 10 dB louder. So yeah, it was kind of annoying to like have to deal with it. Plus the sub sweep doesn't have the second chirp for timing. So I just abandoned using the disc. I was like, alright, I'm just going in with HDMI. So luckily on the x6500 here, it actually has a front HDMI. So like this was actually really easy to calibrate, because I was like, the reason I was going to use the disc is because I didn't want to use like HDMIs around the back, and it was going to be annoying. Now the only other workaround with the disc that you can do is unplug your left or right speaker, set the crossover to 250 Hertz, so essentially it really won't sweep here, and most of the sweep will go into the subs. You can do that because you still get the chirps from doing that. The issue is that I don't use banana plugs on these, so because I actually wanted to test not using banana plugs here. I use a lot of this system to like test what I'm doing and things like that. So, but yeah, that was the setup. It's just 3-channel. The right speaker has actually got issues, probably from me playing it too loud when I was upstairs. So, but yeah, we'll see how this looks. So these are the actual measurements. And to make this easier, I'll pull in my curve that I used for this. So let's pull this into 75 dB, because that's where I did get everything aligned to, around 75. Okay, so we can start turning these on. So center channel for the most part, again, it's pretty decent. There's some issues here, but for the most part it is able to follow the target that I want, even uncalibrated. So front right, see front right around 2K, just after 2K, maybe going into 3. Essentially the tweeter's really dying here compared to the front left, where it still has its tweeter. So again, follows the target pretty well, like even the bass up to 50 Hertz. So pretty happy with how they sound anyway. But with Acoustica though, and all pass filters, like I wanted to see if I get that crisp sound that I have upstairs downstairs with not so good speakers and not as good receiver. Like, am I able to do this? So so front right, that's a massive bass kick. I don't know where that's coming from. Front right. It is next to some boxes and things. Maybe it's getting that. But now what I did with the sub is I tried to essentially use average volume to work out the volume of the sub itself. Like, try and work out already what the sub level was going to be when Acoustica did its work. So knowing that another second sub puts plus 6 dB on, I'm not changing the way this screen looks, so I just need to know. So from around 18 Hertz to 145, I need to know what the average volume is. So if you click on subwoofer 1, around 18 Hertz. So you hold shift and then it goes to around 145, around there. So it's around 84 dB. If you can see here, the average level of this is 84 dB. If you add another sub, that's going to be 6 dB, which means it's going to be 90 dB. And if you know your sub levels are going to be 90 dB, the target is 82, which means the subs will be -8 in Acoustica. That's how you know. So it's really, this is like really easy to work out, like where you want your sub volume to be in the grand scheme of things with the receiver as well. Now for me, my current receiver, I didn't really know how to do all this. So in my current receiver, I'm like 1 dB over, because I like kind of just didn't really know like how to do all this yet. Acoustica does take care of that if sub levels are too high anyway, but that's the range, in my opinion, that's the around the range you want to be in. You want to be, when Acoustica has finished its work, around -6 or -8, -10, in the ballpark. You don't want to be over though. -12 is the limit, and you never want to be on the limit. So I was aiming for -8. I'm pretty sure I got -8. We can have a look at the calibration results anyway. So that's basically how I did that. That's how I got the levels of the sub perfect. But I made some mistakes along the way as well. So that's basically the actual, like the measurements. Again, pretty simple stuff here. None of the speakers apart from the front right here is doing terribly bad. And again, if this was a brand new speaker, I would be getting results. I'd be getting results like this, which again are very close. Acoustica doesn't really need to do a lot of work here, right? There's a few things sticking out here and there, but there's not much work it actually really needs to do, which is nice because Acoustica isn't aggressive on EQ anyway. So that was that. Measurements, calculations. So let's just go to the results. And we can see what my problems were. So we'll turn the sub off. So as you can see, the calibration again is not doing a great deal for some of these really heavy spikes. Now we're in psychoacoustic here, but it's not doing anything too crazy for these spikes. It's pulling things up and down. It's just definitely making things sure are even, and the volume levels are as they should be. Now, as you can see here, when the crossover just starts to kick in around 80 Hertz, I've got lifted bass. Now this is crossed over bass. This is a sweep with the subwoofer on for the front left channel. And this exists on the center channel and the front right, every channel. I was like, what is this? What could be causing this? Now the subwoofer itself didn't have this. And then I thought, okay, there has to be a setting here that I'm missing. So what I used to do with these subs couldn't handle subwoofer volume, 0.1 volume, 10 dB louder. It just couldn't handle it. So what I did is I lowered that by -4. It just didn't occur to me. Calibrating. What I did was I ran the I haven't got it here. Oh, I have. I ran the Audiophile, so it reset everything. But again, my assumption is that it just completely reset absolutely everything. The Audiophile doesn't do that, and I don't know if OCA has the capability of doing this either. So what happened was, I'll tell you how to find it. So when you can only see this when Dolby Atmos things are playing, which is annoying, or 0.1 material is playing. So you have to go into sound parameter, and there is a low frequency effects volume here. I put a -4 in because my subs just at the volumes that I wanted to play, my old subs are 500 watts each, and they just couldn't play at the correct levels when you calibrate this way. When you calibrate bass to a target curve instead of actual dB, it just couldn't handle it. So I had to lower it by 4, and what sounded reasonable to me for these subs to actually do. But I didn't know this was in at the time of me calibrating and measuring. So there is a negative 4 dB offset in these results, and this is why this is why it's only applying to the 0.1 channel. But as you can see, Acoustica did a great job of calibrating these subs in a imperfect room. It is in a front room. I've got my office to the right of it, like that we work in. The kitchen is behind it. There's absolutely zero treatment in the room. There's a rug in front of it, but it's wooden floors. So, you know, it's really not a perfect room at all. But, you know, it's done a nice job here of the calibration. Now, I actually used to cut the sub off at around 21 Hertz, and it looks as though Acoustica has got that drop off exactly right. So I don't think I'll be pushing these subs too much with Acoustica. So I think the software that Acoustica, OCA has put in Acoustica, where it judges where the capability of the subs, I think is excellent. I don't think I actually, before this, I thought I had to run through a MINI-DSP and start cutting things off. But I think it's doing a great job just all by itself now. So now this target curve is my movies and music target curve, and the reason I chose to use this one is because I didn't want any dips along here, considering this setup. Considering this setup is mostly for watching the news, watching a few YouTube videos where people are just mostly talking. I actually don't listen to a lot of music on here anyway. I just occasionally do. It's like, oh, I want to listen to this song real quick. Like that's what I do, which is like once a week. Most of the stuff I'm listening to music upstairs, like in my main system. So this isn't really a music system either. It's just for dialogue. So that's really all this is. Now I said what I would do on this system, and what I have done, is use center spread. And the reason I use that is because if I play music, center spread is already on. And just with 3 channels, for me, that's honestly enough. Center spread is actually pretty good for stereo music. When you're now listening to the news, though, the dialogue gets split between the left and the right channels. So that doesn't necessarily sound that great, but it's kind of something you get used to. Like, so yeah, that's just the way I have that set up. This is not like a really serious setup. It's just I wanted to see what Acoustica could do from a dialogue clarity point of view. There's now there is a table here, and typically there is a lot of stuff on this table, but I wanted to calibrate without really anything getting in the way apart from the table. The table would never be moved, so I kept the table actually there, but I did move all the stuff off of here. So now, so apart from the added volume, which I can, when it comes to volume, you can't change anything now on the receiver itself. So I can pull this down with my subwoofer volume on my app. So I have an app for these are ELAC speakers. So luckily there is an app for this. So to take care of this problem is easy. So essentially what you do is you put this back to 0 now. And like for this system, I'm really not going to remeasure. And a lot of the times I actually don't listen to 0.1 material either. So, and if that is the case, and I like the center spread thing anyway, again, just for this system, I might just set my Xbox to stereo, uncompressed stereo, set my Roku to uncompressed stereo, like PCM, just stereo, and have that be like that, then what I would do is adjust my bass volume to be more in line with 0.1 volume, but for stereo, a stereo setup. For me, that would just be listening to music, matching the bass of what I remember the bass to be from my upstairs system to downstairs. That's it. That's it. It's really not that serious. Now, if I wanted to like recalibrate again and fix this problem, one thing I could do is, if I wanted to listen to everything in stereo, and what I mean by that is stereo, but it's in surround sound mode. So if I didn't have center spread on, all the dialogue will come from the center. So I want to always use 3 speakers. If I did it that way, which I am, I would redo it. And what you can do, if you wanted to get the bass levels exactly at the same level as 0.1 material, you lower your channels, all of them, the center, every single channel by exactly 10 dB. That would put your plus 10 dB back in, and essentially you would have movies in stereo, or just stereo left and right, playing, but it sounds as though there's a 0.1 channel there, because there's so much bass coming in, because the levels are lower, but the 0.1 and the sub channels stay the same. So yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm going to send this video to OCA. I don't know if he can turn off or change these settings. Because I think ATMOS 0.1 or DTSX has to be playing. These, and as well, these are all independent. DTSX has its own one, 5.1 PCM, 7.1 PCM, they're the same. But they're independent, and the Dolby one is independent. So if you have messed around with these and you do have this problem about the bass being different to the crossed over bass, this is why. There's something going on with the setup. So apart from that though, I was happy with it. I heard this, and even with the bass risen like this without the 0.1, it sounded pretty good. So I actually just raised the subs by about 10, which I think put about, and again, I was just listening at that point, and it sounded as though it was the same bass as what I had upstairs. Now, there's probably going to be a bit more of a, like I said, a more scientific and an absolute way of doing this. I'm going to remeasure everything, and then if I want to, I will try putting everything at -10 apart from the subs themselves, and then you have a 10 dB bass rise. I can do that. So quickly what I did was, the other night I was just listening to how good certain music could sound on my current system, and I put on Michael Jackson's album Bad, because I'm like, that's an 80s album, and chances are that it really doesn't sound that great, and it sounded absolutely excellent on my current system. And that was with just straight 80 Hz crossover locked in, and all pass filters. That was it. And I was using my music target curve. It sounded absolutely excellent. So what I did was, downstairs I tested that, the Bad album, tested a few songs, and it just sounded crisp and excellent. So this calibration with Acoustica, even though it's got some errors with the bass thing and things like that, it's really showed me that with relatively basic speakers, you can just get excellent sound. And again, the most important thing was just getting clean measurements. So now I wonder if my measurements that I made, can I put a positive 4 dB offset on them? I wonder if results, measurements. Can I do that? So can I put like +4? Wait, why is this not working? Okay. Can't actually click on it for some reason. Oh, sorry, +4. Add to data. Could I do that? Recalculate, and then the levels would be perfect. So I'd have to do it to this one as well. Just put +4 on this, and then add that to data, and it does apply. If that is the case, I'll run the calibration again, and then see if it's fixed the bass levels in that way. So, but yeah, while I'm just doing this video, one thing I noticed is I haven't really used this web interface for the X65 at all, 100 at all, and I've noticed here it looks like kind of different. But one thing that I had to check was, so if you click on levels, now some people have said in the Facebook group that sometimes these receivers don't report the correct things, and on my Denon A1H I was like, well, that's not true. Like, everything that I see on the receiver is what I see on the screen as well. Not on this receiver. This receiver is incorrect. The subwoofer levels are like -8, which exactly as I wanted them to be, and these are around -0.5. You can actually check what they should be here. So I locked everything in at 80 Hz. I gave a +6 dB boost on the subs. In my opinion, it just sounds better. I actually did a calibration by mistake yesterday without the +6 dB. It just didn't sound good. It sounded good, but it just didn't sound as good as what I want it to sound like. So according to this, the left sub was louder than the right sub. In all fairness, I could see that from the measurements themselves as well. But the sub level itself on the remote, so not on the remote, on my phone said 70 for both. So I kind of didn't match them like near field. I didn't do any of that. I'm just like, look, I mean, whatever. If the one says 70, the other one goes to 70 as well. But in room, this is like kind of what's happening. So, but again, I'm just letting the Acoustica fix this, right? I'm not. It's not that serious. It's not as serious as my main room where I'm going absolutely crazy about it. Where are the volumes? I know there was one there. All right, so again, I got because of the way I calculated it this time, I knew that it was going to be around 8. And it is, it's -8.5. So I might make a video on YouTube about this, about actually how to set the volume of the subwoofers, like preemptively know what it's going to be. It's really easy. So this is the volumes that it should show on the receiver. -1 for the center, +1 for the front right, -0.5 for the front left. Because this didn't show here, I was like, well, did the settings get passed over? So I had to like check everything else. I had to check the distances. They all got sent over. The crossovers all got sent over. And I'm like, wait, so it was just this that didn't get sent over? So just to confirm, and you shouldn't do this, but just to confirm, I went into the receiver and seen that the volumes were this, and the -6 were all applied. So because I've went in and tested the volume on the receiver itself, now all of these volume levels are screwed. So you have to re-upload your results. So now I'm seeing that, yeah, certain receivers don't show things correctly. So you either have to trust that it went through because everything else is showing that it went through, or you have to manually go in just to check. And if it does go through, if you do that, you're going to have to re-upload the file to the receiver. So, but yeah, that's it. Yeah, and again, I listened to this, and to me it sounded excellent. Actually, one sec. Did it fix the front right problem? So, front right, it did. That was the calibration. What was the... Right. So this was how the right channel looked before with the tweeter problem. You can see that, right? Yeah, you can. So this was the problem, and then after calibration, it just fixed that. So Acoustica is doing some really good stuff here. Now, I've talked about this on some other videos, that there could be more done here. There could be, but you're kind of destroying the sound and not getting as good sound overall if you start like going too heavy on trying to EQ like small little things like this. So I'm actually with OCA now on, do you want to limit how much EQ you actually do to these speakers? Because it doesn't do the sound any good for doing it. Like, having these things just keeps the speaker sounding natural, clean, and when you start going overboard, I've done it before, it sounds too clinical, too snappy, it just doesn't sound as good. It doesn't sound as good as Acoustica can do. So, but yeah, I'm really happy with that. One day I might go back in and fix this bass, or if I might ask either someone in the chat or whoever's going to see this video, will say yes, you can apply offsets to each of these speakers. I'm just going to do the calculation again. So, and just in case I didn't say this already, these speakers were locked in at 80 Hertz, and all pass filters were used. That was it. So with a plus 6 dB boost, yeah, so 80 Hertz plus 6 dB, all pass filters true. That was it. So I wanted to get that. I wanted to see how that sounded first, because this is my go-to setup for my system, my main system as well. I'll be honest, I don't think I need the center dialogue clarity setting. From what I heard, and again, this was very quickly just to see what TV sounded like, you could tell it was better than what I already had anyway. One thing I've seen from center dialogue clarity, the actual setting in Acoustica, is it will only use it if needed. Because I did 2 calibrations on my main system, they sounded exactly the same, literally no difference. So it only uses the EQ filters if they're needed. So if I don't need something, I'm not turning it on. So I don't feel as though you need that. So, but yeah, that's it. So can you get a pretty basic system to sound really good? Yeah, I think you can. Like, again, these speakers are like $500. You know, they're really not that much. I think you could get even cheaper speakers, like $150, and with Acoustica, I guarantee you it can sound good. Get some decent subs, 500 watts each, whatever, on a basic system, 2 of them, and this it would sound really good. Now, admittedly, my Denon x6500 does have the best form of Odyssey inside it, so it has full bass control. There's a lot you can do with it. There's a lot you can do with the filters. So yeah, the biggest expense actually is buying a good receiver that has the best version of Odyssey. That's the problem. These lower ones, it's like you just can't really do too much on them. You know, I don't even know if on some of the lower models that you can even use all-pass filters, which I would need a receiver that has all-pass, that could do all-pass filters with Odyssey. At this point, I would just be looking for receivers that have the best version of Odyssey for me. And the speakers can be kind of, you know, generally speaking, average. You could buy pretty average speakers but buy really beefy subs, and I think you'd get an excellent sound for relatively cheap. So, because bass good bass requires a lot of power. That's the biggest problem. So, and look, with these receivers being cut off at 80 hertz, there's not a lot of power going to these receivers. You don't need a ton of power if you're crossing over at 80 hertz. Some people are crossing over higher than that, like 120. Now you've just like lowered the amount of power that you need on these receivers significantly. So you don't even need a super powerful receiver either with Acoustica. So yeah, that's my results. So far, sounds excellent. I mean, again, Michael Jackson, like I was a little worried it was going to sound too bright, it was going to sound a certain way, but no, clean. I'm not going to say it's sounds as good as my upstairs setup, but for what I have with it being in, you know, I've got my office to the next of it and the kitchen back here and everything, super impressed, right? Really, really impressed. So yeah, one day, I mean, I might even test it myself, see if I can fix this sub problem by just lowering the levels themselves, and see if that works. So yeah, Acoustica, yeah, it's the real deal. It's pretty much the only calibration system software that you'll need right now. It's better than multi-EQX here. I would not be surprised at all if it is much better as well than Dirac. Like, you just don't have this level of customization in Dirac. You do in multi-EQX, but you don't have all-pass filters. If Odyssey, this app, if that added the ability to also implant all-pass filters to your channels, you could manually do everything in multi-EQX. But I think even I think OCA has also said that some of this stuff, these calculations, take a long time if you're manually doing them. So again, it's just, why do that? You've already got a system here made by OCA, Acoustica, that is absolutely incredible at doing this. It's like, why would I do this myself? The only reason I would do it for myself is because, like today, when you don't calibrate for a while, you kind of lose, like, oh, I needed to check this. Oh, crap, I've got to run the calibration. I've got to measure that again because I didn't get the levels right. Or, you know, it's just like, you kind of lose it. So doing things on your own, like manually, it kind of keeps your mind fresh about, yeah, this is how to do it. Because look, there's no question that if you don't repeat something over and over and over again, you're going to lose the ability to remember exactly how you did it. So this is why doing this downstairs, it kind of woke me up again about, oh, there's these settings I need to check, these settings as well, you know. So yeah, but that's my results, and sounds great. So fixed errors on speakers as well, you know. What can this system not do? So what can Acoustica not achieve that something else can? So very happy with it. Yep, thanks for watching. See ya.